What's up, guys? So I'm going to show you how to properly align an intake to your carburetor and some things that you don't want to do. So once you've replaced your front intake seal and your rear intake seal and you have the bolts snug down, do not tighten these all the way at this point. Reason being is you have to get the intake perfectly perpendicular to the carburetor, and you also want to make sure when you're tightening this you don't tighten it to where the intake goes too far to the front cylinder or too much to the rear cylinder, because that can also create a leak. So what you're going to want to do once you get it to this point, lightly snug all 4 bolts down. And the trick to kind of doing this is you want to cut a 1/4 inch Allen key about this size here, and that'll allow you to get in there a lot easier. Ball in Allen key also will help, but cutting an Allen key like that is definitely the way to go. And yeah, I'm going to show you how to do it here. So the intake is just slightly loose right now. It's centered. I have it centered on both the front and the rear, but the most important part is this right here. What you're going to want to do is get your carburetor assembly. You're going to want to mount it to the cylinders with the breather bolts and install the carburetor into the intake. Now what that's going to do is align your intake to the carburetor perfectly. If you don't do that, you have the potential of this intake being too far up or too far down, and then creating a whole nother air leak if that was your problem to begin with. It could have just been a misaligned intake, but it's just something that you definitely want to do when tightening these. So once I get the carburetor air filter assembly on, I'll get in here and tighten these down, snug them tight, go back and forth, and you want to even pressure on both sides. And then if you can't get it super tight, I go back and I take the air filter assembly carburetor off, and then I'll get back in here and tighten up those 4 bolts to spec. At least at that point, I know that I'm good in the up and down direction, nice and perpendicular to the carburetor, and when I go and mount the carburetor back on there, the intake will be perfectly aligned and I'll have 0 air leaks. As always, when you do anything carbureted related intake seals, definitely check with some ether once the bike is running to see if the idle changes. If it does, you know you still have an air leak, so you definitely want to address that. If you have any comments, please leave them. Like, subscribe. Thanks, guys.